I'm a Christian, but the loneliest I've ever felt is sitting in the pew underneath the steeple on a Sunday morning at church. These are the people that I most want to have a meaningful relationship with, but I'm sitting there and I feel disappointed and isolated and out of place. And I know I'm not alone because James has felt the same way. And this is so important to figure out because the Bible says if you don't stick with the church, you don't stick with your faith. But God has totally changed our connection to the church in the last 10 years. And now when I'm at church, I don't feel lonely and out of place. I actually feel wonder that I get to be a part of God's people. We want to share with you the 5 reasons we were lonely at church and the 5 ways that we overcame, leaving us deeply connected now and blessed by God's people. The first thing we need to talk about is church hurt. So James and I moved to our church 13 years ago so that he could be the youth pastor. And you would think as a pastor that we haven't had to encounter this. But I remember when we first moved here, James would come home from meetings at church and he would be in the pits. And I don't know exactly what happened, but watching Christians do things wrong can be very dissettling and make you very isolated.
Honestly, I still experience similar situations today, 13 years later. But some of the stuff that's said in the meeting, even some cursing that occurs, it was really shocking at first. We would have meetings where it just seemed like God wasn't present. Not in the sense that I didn't feel like God was there, but in the sense that it just didn't feel like we wanted God there. It is a hard thing just trying to get past that. And I just can't simply pretend it doesn't happen or ignore it.
Well, I've seen a huge change. I mean, it was rough in the beginning. And I think that is probably common with people who are getting more into serving the church. Like kind of the deeper you get in, the more you expect holiness. And when you don't see it, it's just can be devastating.
On Wednesday nights, I'm studying through the book of Judges with the youth. And book of Judges is probably the worst book of the Bible, in my opinion, just not because of it's a terrible written book, but because the people in it are so terrible. But we see time and time again how no matter how bad the Israelites are, no matter how bad individuals are, God still rescues them. He saves them. Whenever I still have meetings like what I first experienced, I am calloused in a way. Like it doesn't bother me as much as it used to, not because things have gotten better, but because I just recognize that that's going to happen. Christ has loved me, and I've done something so much worse than what I've seen in those meetings. I've committed such a grave sin to Christ, but he loved me, and so I need to reciprocate that love to those in the church.
The second reason that people are lonely at church, this was my reason for years and years, is because we're cynical. And so it didn't require someone doing wrong to make me isolate myself from them, even when they did right. Because of the way I interpreted their actions, I had a wall between me and them. And I'm ashamed to say this now because of the way my perspective on the very same people have entirely changed. But it was mostly the old people, which I'm just going to say because I believe that whenever I do something wrong, other people probably have too. So whenever someone elderly would come to church, I would think, well, that's just their habit. Or, they're very faithful to Sunday school, but they've done that for 50 years. I mean, whatever good they did, I just didn't believe that at the bottom of their heart, they loved Christ.
I definitely developed some cynicism with church leadership. And then it did discourage me with the church as a leader. Because for a long time, my desire was to be a pastor in the church. And then I finally get there and that's what I'm hit with. And it's like, what in the world? I couldn't believe it.
And I think that church leaders make jokes that make us more cynical.
Like the demon deacons.
I have never heard of that.
I have.
Oh, really?
It's a school nickname, but we talk about how bad the deacons are.
Yeah.
Like they're a thorn in our side as a pastor.
Right.
We can joke like that.
Which we've never had that problem.
No.
So that's not real, but it's a joke. It's such an issue because our whole world is so cynical. So what changed it for me is that there's kind of two levels of reality. There's like the reality that you see, and then there's the spiritual reality. And when that becomes more clear, it can overcome the like cynical attitude. So this is the reality of the people that are in the pew with me. This is from Revelation chapter 5. It says that Jesus, you were slain, and by your blood you ransomed people for God, and you have made them a kingdom and priests to our God, and they shall reign on the earth. So the reality of the people that I'm with is that Jesus Christ gave his blood to ransom them. And it reminds me of one of the first Bible verses we ever taught. Our oldest, she is so young. Jesus.
Love return, they her herself.
Good. Ephesians 5:25. So considering that the preciousness of these people, because the blood of Christ has been given to them, that takes away this like cynical, cold-hearted attitude. Okay, the second thing that helped me overcome that attitude, it's been a long process, but it's come up a lot lately. We're reading Judges with these teenagers. So there's been three people. The first one was Barak. So the leader of the army, Barak, he's supposed to go into battle. And he says, well, I'm not going to go unless you're with me. And we just spent, 10 minutes slamming this weak man who wouldn't even go into battle without the woman, a wimp. And then James comes out and says, well, what if I told you he is commended for his faith in Hebrews 11? And I could not believe it. And then it happened again. Like we're studying Gideon.
It didn't seem like he really believed God was going to do what he said.
And then you come out with, what if I told you he's commended for his faith in Hebrews 11? And then the last one was the worst because it's Jephthah. And he made a vow. If I can win this battle, the first thing that comes out of my house, I will sacrifice to you, Lord. And the first thing that comes out of his house, his own daughter.
His only child.
And so he kills his own daughter to keep his vow. It's despicable. And then what do you see in Hebrews 11? That he is commended for his faith.
Hebrews 11, it's like this huge celebration of faith of people in the Old Testament. If I was around those people at the wrong time, I wouldn't want anything to do with them. You think Abraham, the father of the Israelites, amazing man, full of faith. Well, if I was around him one of the two times he tried to give his wife up to another man to save his own skin, I wouldn't want anything to do with that guy. You think like King David, maybe the most amazing guy in the Old Testament. Worst father in history, I think. Well, second worst. Jephthah's pretty bad.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty bad.
If I was around them at the wrong time, I'd be like, what is wrong with this church? I don't want anything to do with it.
It changes my perspective on the people around me. They can be so weak, but still have faith. And what will they become in the future? That's kind of where my mind goes now. When I see a Christian, it's not how awesome are they this moment, but it's one day they will be redeemed. The wrong response would be bitterness, cynicism, walking away, from God's people. So bottom line is you have to see God's people as redeemed, both in the past by Jesus's blood and in the future when they will be perfected.
Now, the third reason you might be lonely at church is because you're afraid to open up with other people. Now, I am a more reserved person, definitely more introverted than Angelica. It's hard, and that is a major inhibitor for me. I have a weakness when it comes to opening up with others, and God has graciously, I think, given me bigger weaknesses to help open me up.
Wow.
We talked about it in our last video, but I've had TMJ pain for 6 years now, and the beginning of it was absolutely horrible. I mean, worst year of my life. Earaches every day for a lot of the day for a year. Horrible. I remember that year you went to Mexico, left me with the 3 girls, and so I'm taking care of them by myself. So we were at the park walking around. I don't want to do anything except lay down at home and try to get the pain to go away. We run into a couple of ladies from church, Cindy and Mitzi. And in that moment, they got to see just how much suffering I was experiencing, how much pain I was in, and how it's hard on me, obviously, but it's also hard on my kids because I can't really give them the attention that they really need. And, God, he gave me that opportunity in my suffering for me to really open up with how hard it is for me in that moment. And praise God that those two ladies, they were like, oh, you know what? You want us to watch your girls for you for a few hours? And I was like, yeah. By me opening up, I got to see God's love for me through those women, through those two ladies. So I'm so thankful for that. When it comes to the church, I want to open myself up so that I can experience God's love in ways I can't imagine. I mean, I've never experienced anything like that in my life up to that point. That was a new experience of God's love for me.
What we're talking about today is a matter of utmost importance. How connected are we to the church? And if you're a parent, that's just not something you can think about for yourself, but you also have to think about it on another level with your children. Making sure our children have deep church connections is one of our top priorities for helping them to conquer over the modern life struggles that will come their way and to be victorious for Christ. This is one of the things that we assess for in our culture proof audit. And it's a 5-minute tool that we made for you so you could see where your children will be vulnerable to sabotage from the modern culture as they grow up. So you can get that in a link below. And after you fill out that 5-minute quiz, we will send you next steps you can take to fortify your children in these areas.
The fourth reason you may be lonely at church is because you're trying to find other people that are similar to you.
Yeah, I think this is very natural, not necessarily sinister. But when I see someone who has children, I know what to talk about. How old are your kids? How many do you have? When I try to meet someone who is elderly, I do not know what to ask. I'm like, I wonder, do they work? I don't know. Like, how old do people retire? Are you married? No, I don't want to ask that. Like, what if their husband just died? Or what if they're divorced? Or what if they were never married? Do you have any children? No, I don't. I never had children. Oh, I'm so sorry to bring that up. Like, what do you do? So part of it is just not knowing how to relate to people that are outside of your level of life. So it's definitely more challenging.
In Scripture, it talks about the older women teaching the younger women. So we get this idea of multi-generational relationships, friendships. I mean, going back to my story earlier, those two women, they're not in my life stage.
They're like 30 years older.
If I avoided them, I mean, I wouldn't like, if we see each other in Lakeshore, like turn around and go the other way, avoid. But if I never like pursued any kind of a friendship with them, it's a huge miss in my life. And it actually, I think it's harmful to me and harmful to my kids.
Right. A few months ago, I was thinking, when school starts, I'm quitting all the ministries at church because I'm a homeschooling mom. It is exhausting the first month of school. So I'm sitting in choir practice thinking this, and a man shows up who we will call Bill. And I start thinking about Bill. He has kidney failure. He is on dialysis, and he still shows up to serve in this way. And then all of a sudden, like, my little troubles seemed ridiculous. Every time I'm around this man, I am encouraged. Our friendship is very important to me. It doesn't look like college buddies at all. But there's some depth to intergenerational friendships that I think is actually what we want more than college buddies.
If we think of a more extreme example with my kids, let's say, one of them's 9 years old. If I limited her social experiences to other 9-year-olds, she's going to be in a lot of trouble because there's no wisdom that a 9-year-old has to offer. I want to put as many people, godly people, as I can in her life to help her as she grows up. God has given me the church, people of the church, to help me to love my kids.
I have to tell you a story about our oldest daughter. Probably when she was 12, I'm going to say. She started going over every week to one of our elderly members, 89, widowed, frail. And she would just go over and see if she could help her with anything, which most of the time they just sat and talked. Just a few years of doing this before this lady passed away. You can imagine, I mean, just the impact that had on even the trajectory of her life. So it's just very, very, very grateful for this 80-year span, almost 80-year difference in age, but it's still a deep friendship. That is what the church is about, really. That does not happen apart from the church, except with your grandma.
It was also amazing for Miss Carolyn. She was so thankful.
Oh, yeah.
And she loved every minute that our daughter could come over and hang out with her. I'm so thankful for the impact that Miss Carolyn had on our daughter, but it was also, the other way around. Really, it was the highlight of her week. Yeah, it was really sad to see her go.
The bottom line is you may be lonely at church because you're sticking in your own generation. The last reason that you are probably lonely at church is because you desire deep connections, but you don't know practically how to get them. So when I go to the grocery store, I don't come home and think, man, I was so lonely at the grocery store, because I don't really expect to connect with people there. But when I go to church, I really want to deeply connect with these people. I want them to be the ones that are influencing my life. I really want them to know me, and I want to belong to them. About 10 years ago, I was reading the Bible in this way. I would read a book, or like a short book, every day for a month. So I read 1 Thessalonians every day for a month. And it is incredible in the deep affection that Paul had for the church. It shocked me. It almost sounds idolatrous. Like, listen to this language. But since we were torn away from you, brothers, for a short time, in person, not in heart, we endeavored the more eagerly and with great desire to see you face to face, because we wanted to come to you. For what is our hope or joy or crown of boasting before the Lord Jesus at his coming? Is it not you? For you are our glory and joy. I was shocked that Paul would use that type of language about the church. Paul was deeply in love with the church. So it is a good desire for us to want to love the church and want to be more connected. But how do we actually get there? Because if we want that, but we don't have it, we feel lonely. Have you ever done string art? You pound little nails into a piece of wood, and then you wrap string around each nail, and it turns out to be a dolphin. Well, connecting in the church is just like tying little strings. It's little pieces that all pull together to bring about a deep connection. So what are some practical ways?
Some practical ways to really get connected within the church. Realistically, you have to invest your time and energy in order to develop connections. And so a great way is to serve in a ministry alongside others. Maybe being like a greeter at the church at the front door, and at least having those initial exposures with others will give you, the next time you run into them, there's a little more familiarity there. And so there may be a better opportunity for a deeper conversation. But beyond that, look for opportunities really to interact your life with their life. And so it can be, just inviting people over for a meal. Really
having people over has been a total game changer. And one surprising thing to me was you don't have to have them over several times. One time changes your relationship completely. And a lot of times you get invited back. And when you walk into someone's home, you know like 1,000 things about them instantly. And so you have so many more connecting points because you've walked into their house. We just had some people over last week, and I've never been to their house. I bet it's fantastic. I just think they have it all together. I could be totally wrong, but I bet they don't have like mud on the wall by their door from little kids, or or whatever. I tried to get it off, okay? But what I learned years ago is kind of the more down to earth your house is, the easier it is for people to reciprocate, if that makes sense. So when we first started having people over, you had made our chairs. Remember?
They were terrible.
Exactly. And we would have people over, have a great time. then we would go to their house and I'm like, wow, they actually have some nice stuff. But a lot of them were new believers and they had never had anyone over before. And I felt like actually our humble beginnings were helpful for developing our relationship because they knew like we were not uppity. We didn't really have a lot to offer and it made us even more approachable. So I try to keep that in mind.
Yeah, just kind of build on that. One thing we like to do is on Christmas Eve, we invite families over or individuals over who don't have family in town to spend time with. So we invite them over for a dinner. And some of those people we really see closely once a year. And it's been awesome. I mean, it's helped our relationship so much. Some of them are family. They'll come in to see their kids for Christmas Eve. And so they'll come over here with their kids and we have a good friendship with them. And it's just a simple act of inviting them over for a meal has had a wonderful effect in helping us to develop some kind of a connection with others. Another way that we develop connections, and it's kind of the opposite, I guess. It's we take our family to funerals or to the graveside service, just to show the individual or family who's suffering, just show them that we care. People remember that, and they'll remember that for the rest of their life. And especially, we have kids. They love to see our kids and the visitation time. They're so thankful and appreciative to see them.
And an easier way is just to be the last people to leave after church. So occasionally, a lot of people book it, but there's some people that just hang out. And so it's an easy, nice thing because you don't have to add anything to your schedule. You can just chat. And those things build up. That small talk really does matter. Another thing is just answering the question truthfully, like, how are you? Well, how are you? Well, I had a rough week. And you don't have to spill everything, but just showing your humanity and that you do struggle, that is a way to build better connections.
Another way that you can develop connections with people in the church is if your church has some kind of a fellowship event, like a Thanksgiving dinner or some other kind of meal where it's really a social gathering, then be intentional to sit with other people that you don't normally sit with. It's definitely awkward at first for me, and it's tempting to eat with the people you're comfortable with, but it's a good way to show love towards others that you normally don't get to by sitting with them and just listening to them talk, sharing some about yourself, and just getting to know them and developing connection.
Another thing is while I'm at church, when I see people in the congregation, I'll pray for them. I think it started with knowing these teenagers are really struggling. And so I'll pray for that teenager. Now lately it's been knowing that this person is experiencing a health problem. And so I'll pray for them even while we sing. And that just really makes my heart a lot more affectionate and open toward the people I'm around.
Another way that I just heard this morning when I was talking with a senior adult at our church, he shares a Sunday school class with a family who has younger kids, and one of them's in softball, and they invited him to come watch a softball game, and he took advantage of it. And so they are not in the same social circle at all. And he was just so thankful for that opportunity to go and watch. And I'm sure
That's awesome.
The family was very thankful that he cared enough to come and do that. And so it's a great opportunity just to go to other people's events.
Yeah. The thing I'm trying lately is to actually call people. And what I realized is I don't have to call them every week. Like if I call them one time in their life, that still has made a big impact on our relationship. On Sunday morning, if I notice someone isn't there, then I'll just call them. Like, I noticed you weren't there. How are you doing? And that's been really, really beneficial.
Yeah, so there are lots of ways that we can tie the strings to connect with others in the church. And all of those relationships, they don't, again, have to be best friends, but they are people that we will develop good friendships with. They'll be able to love us consistently, especially in our time of need. We would love to hear what methods you use with your family to help you connect to other families in the church. So please leave a comment. And if you're a parent, grab the Culture Proof Audit in the link below. If you want to learn more about how God used my chronic pain and why he would allow a believer to suffer so much, check out this video here. Thank you for joining us, and may God bless your family.